I do know is that it gave her the will to fight. It gave her the will to live. Thank God I don't have to see what my life would have been like having lost my wife and having sacrificed my daughter.
You're listening to the We Are Voices for Life podcast. Get ready for another compelling episode on the pro-life ethic.
Blessings to you. Welcome to the We Are Voices for Life podcast. I'm your host, Jerry B., and today we're adding to our significant series, Stories for Life. We will be talking with a father, Aaron, and his beautiful daughter, Violet. They will share a very vulnerable story of sacrificial love, loss, and legacy. I know of their experience personally, and we're grateful that they are opening their hearts to us today. So we'll just say hello, Aaron. Many blessings to you. Hello, Violet. How are you both?
Hello.
I trust and
Great. We're doing great.
that's good. I trust and pray that all is well. I understand, and we're going to be very empathetic and sympathetic to what you have walked through. So I think we'll just open up the floor with Aaron. You just sharing your story, and then we'll get deeper into it as Holy Spirit leads. Okay.
Yeah, sure. So I guess the whole story really starts back in 2009, I believe, if my memory is serving. It's a while ago now, but 2009, I can remember Heather was 12 weeks pregnant, and it would have been in February, I believe, of 2009. She had gotten home from work late. I was already in bed, and I can remember hearing her yelling from what sounded like yelling from the living room. And I got up and I found her having a seizure on the couch. So immediately called 911, and ambulance came. She came out of the seizure. We went to, ambulance took us to the emergency room, doing a bunch of different testing, CT scan and everything like that. And that's when they found a small tumor um, I believe it was in the front of her brain. And so that kind of, started what was eventually a 6-year battle um, with the cancer. Um, we went to, so this was in Boardman. Um, Spent the weekend, what felt like the weekend. Well, let me back up. No, it was just overnight in the hospital here in town. We then went to Cleveland Clinic, where she was eventually admitted, ran, numerous tests over what was. It was originally, well, they found a tumor. They didn't know if it was cancer or if it was some type of fungal type of thing. And that was about, like I said, about a week long. Um, and They eventually did determine that it was cancer that had started in her lung and spread into her brain. So that was basically the start of the whole, like I said, the whole 6-year ordeal.
And may I ask, you both were expecting Violet during this process?
Yeah, like I said, she was 12 weeks pregnant when when she had the seizure, and then everything had started. So yeah, yeah.
Were there directions from any of the physicians concerning the pregnancy or what you should do in regard to um, carrying Violet to term?
Well, yeah, well, absolutely. So, I guess it gets kind of foggy, the whole timeline, but um, I guess it would have come. Well, yeah. So the immediate decision, for us to keep the pregnancy was something that was very much in question, because we were, and whether and I don't remember if she was still staying in the hospital or if she had been released at this point, but actually, it would have been she would have been released, because I remember we got the news maybe about well, after she had already come home. The doctor had called and said that yes, it was a what, I don't remember the name, but it was that, but it was cancerous, and I remember her just being devastated. And that then started, the appointments with different radiologists, different, the cancer doctors, and the entire team of what to do. And we were presented with, not really presented, but were, I would almost say, pressured into, or pressured. They tried to pressure us to have what they referred to as a therapeutic abortion. And so the reason being was they couldn't properly treat the cancer the way that they would have wanted to, most aggressively, with the pregnancy. Um, different things that they would have to inject, different dyes to target the tumor, to take care of it as quickly as possible. So that was their reasoning as to why they wanted to do what they called therapeutic abortion, um, which we weighed the decision quite heavily, and decided that no, an abortion was not what was the way that, you know it just wasn't right to us. It wasn't right to us. Um, and I guess I'll back up from there. I mean, when we and this is kind of where you came into the picture, was, I think, maybe that very day or next day after we'd received the news that it was actually cancer. Heather had gone to Victory. Whether she just drove there, whether she drove to the office or called, I can't remember. But that she just, it was a place that we had driven past, a couple of, numerous times, um, and always talked about, yeah, it's we should find a church. We should get into a church. I've been praying. Um, and so clearly the Lord had used this to get us to somewhere. He didn't cause it to happen, but he most definitely used it. Um, so, and that's where you had entered. She had you know went there, had gotten, a group of people around her, and then you had come to the picture at that point. Um, and where that was in the timeline of us making the decision to not have the abortion, I don't remember, but I am certain that we had come in contact with Victory before that happened, and it was just very apparent to us that having an abortion was not the right path to take. Um,
Can you remember some of the conversation with Heather in weighing it? What were some of her words concerning becoming a mom and seeing her baby? Of course, at this point, you may not have known whether Violet was going to be a boy or a girl, but do you remember some of the conversations that you had with her while you weighed this incredible um, situation? And was there any pressure from the doctors at all when you went in and said, "Hey, this is our decision"?
um, well, so to answer the first part, I guess I don't remember specifically any type, any conversations or words that she had. The one thing that I will say that I know for certain was that if we had decided to go through with aborting, um, she would not have made it 6 years. She would have succumbed probably, very, very. It gave her a reason to fight as hard as she possibly could to see her baby girl. Not only through the pregnancy, but then once we once Violet came, then the fight was okay. We got through that. Thank you, Lord. I'm going to continue to fight to see my baby girl, grow up you know and forward from there. Um, so as far as pressure again from the medical community, it wasn't. I mean, once they saw that our mind was made up, they honored that, but um, they didn't want us to do that. So the difference was the difference between whole brain radiation or targeted radiation. So the targeted radiation of what needs, they need the dyes, they need the different type of tests that could um, damage damage the baby. With the whole brain radiation, they just go in and blast your whole head with radiation. And then they told us the side effects and and what could very likely happen down the road. Um, which we did deal with, which we did experience. But I would have to say that at that point for Heather, we didn't. I don't remember if we talked about it or not, but I know for her that didn't matter in that moment. This was my baby, and I was there, speaking what I can imagine when I'm in her head. This is my child, and we're going to go through with this, and we'll deal with whatever comes down the road, later on.
Understood. Well, please, if you don't mind, Aaron, tell us about the day of Violet's birth. What that experience was with you and Heather finally giving birth to your baby girl.
Wow. Well, I remember it was early in the morning, and so because of everything, we couldn't just go here locally. We had to go to Cleveland. So the whole thing was all planned out. Her doctor was going on vacation, and then when he got back from vacation, they were going to we were going to we had an appointment come in. They were going to do induce labor so that everything could be very controlled environment. Well, Violet didn't want anything to do with that. So while her doctor and the whole medical team was, that he was leading while he was on vacation, it was in the middle of the night, early morning. Um, I remember Heather was in the bathroom, and she said, "I think my water just broke." And we did have a little bag packed or whatever, and we didn't quite know what to do. You know, and she was having. I remember she was starting to have the contractions, and I said, "Well, because it was an hour away." It was the middle of the night, and oh, geez, do we really want to drive all that way just in case? And then as soon as I had that thought, I'm like, no, we need to get in the car and we need to drive. So we did. And as we're driving, her contractions are getting worse and worse. And I can remember having an argument with her about how fast I was driving on the on the way to the hospital. And and as I remember, it turns out that it was good that I was driving as fast as I was, because it wasn't very long. you know we pulled up, we called to let them know that we were coming, and they were there waiting with a wheelchair for her. They got her right in the room. I got myself ready, and by the time I was in there, she was in labor. So yeah, it didn't take long at all, and she was just, I think, one day premature. So there were whatever the special, things they do for that, but it wasn't, you know, to make sure that everything was fine with her, and it was, and so yeah, so we got to have her in the room with us, and I remember a lot of that.
What was the moment? Can you take us into that moment of holding your baby girl in your arms for the first time and the moment?
It was just a piece over this, you know, beautiful baby girl that I had not. Well, I'm going to tell this story because I think it's funny, and I'm sure. So you're in the hospital, they had like a little, parenting class with, whatever, however many, couples were in there with that had just had newborns, and they brought us all into a room to talk about, caring for your child and this and that, and I'll never forget, there was this couple that had a little boy, and I remember this mother took one look at Violet and she started to cry. And I like to think it was because she was such a beautiful little girl that why isn't my baby so beautiful? I don't know, but
That's pretty great, man. That's absolutely great. And I want to say to you, um, Violet, thank you for agreeing to come on to share your heart. I honor your tears. I do, and I understand the sensitivity of um, of you sharing like this. So I'm just going to ask, as I did your dad, if you can just share any memories, share your heart, whatever is on your heart to share. We just open the floor for you to do so, and we thank you again, definitely for being here. I'm so sorry. God bless you.
just say whatever you're thinking, whatever comes to your mind. It's what we're growing up for, right? Anyway.
I feel like there were always like a bunch of people like around us.
There definitely were. Yeah, yeah. We had a lot of support. hmm We did.
Like I feel like I like always saw the people.
hmm
I don't really remember a lot. I don't know.
That was a long time ago,
Yeah.
but you remember the love that and support that we had. Yeah. hmm
Can you tell us a little bit about your aspirations? I mentioned you being a gymnast, which you've been involved in for like forever. what what's life like at Boardman High and your um, your tryouts and all of the competitions you've been in? Can you share a little about that?
Um, I feel like I've been doing gymnastics for like my whole life, really, like since I remember. And like I don't know. I feel like that's like most of my life is like gymnastics. So there's so much.
You plan on going to the Olympics?
No, no,
No.
no. I want to go to college for gymnastics, but I definitely don't want to go to the Olympics.
Hmm. Well, I understand you just came back from Tennessee.
Yeah,
What was that about? Was that a competition or?
yeah. That was probably like my best competition of the season because I'm just coming back from an ankle injury.
Hmm. Excellent. And so tell us about turning 16. I can't remember 16. Like 16 twice. What is 16 like, and turning 16, and high school and driving?
I feel like I can like do a lot more things like on my own and like yeah.
The one thing I will say is that Heather was a very strong and independent woman, and that is exactly who Violet is. Has her own thoughts, has her own. This is the way that this is the way that I see the world, and this is what I'm going to do, and not disrespectful to her dad, but this is very very strong willed like her mother. Yeah.
Yeah, your mom was stubborn in a
Okay.
very good way. Strong-willed. I'll use Aaron's vernacular, but strong-willed, but stubborn. And I think that was her strength. That was her grace about her. I have some pictures that will be interjecting when you were just in. I don't remember, Aaron. I think it wasn't kindergarten. It was preschool, and you and Heather being there, and the look on Heather's face when the kids marched out and they did it was just like she was just so proud, and she loves you. We believe, obviously, as Christians, in Hebrews 12, the writer talks about that great cloud of witnesses, and that Heather hasn't missed a thing. She hasn't missed a moment. She hasn't missed any of your meets. She's been looking down, and God has allowed her to see the beautiful young lady you've become. And we're also extremely proud of you. And we're proud and thankful and grateful to you for taking this moment to just share your heart with us. I just mean that. Thank you so much. So, Aaron, is there anything that you feel should be said to other couples who may be walking along the same process, and because you and Heather decided that Violet was so vital and important to you to keep her and to raise her, come what may, that anyone else walking through a similar situation could draw from?
I guess I'll just say, to expound on what I said earlier you know, with our situation, Heather would not have made it. I mean, I I don't know, but what I do know, I don't know how long she would have survived, but what I do know is that it gave her the will to fight. It gave her the will to live. Um, and so to kind of extrapolate that out, I thank God I don't have to see what my life would have been like having lost my wife and having sacrificed my daughter. Where would I be, today? Thank you, Lord, that I don't have to see that I don't have to experience that because, um, at this point now, you know, Violet gives me, as a man, the ultimate purpose to be a father and to guide my child to be, you know, to point her in the way that she should go. Which way that is, I'm not sure, but to give her every tool that I possibly can to, you know, to bring her up properly, and um, without that purpose, you know, I you know, thank you, Lord. I don't have to see that. I don't have to think about that.
Absolutely. Well, I want to say this to you, Aaron and Violet, in a way that there is nobody watching this. It's just the three of us in this room. There's no podcast audience. I want to say that having the blessing of being able to walk with you since 2009 and see you, Aaron, as a man and see you as a father, and knowing who Heather was, Violet, as your mother, that you are indeed one of the most incredible families that I have ever encountered in my life. And Aaron, you are a true man of God. You are a strong man. Violet, you are a beautiful, beautiful gift from the Lord. And you have an incredible future in front of you, and you are valuable to God, and you're going to do some great things. I'm grateful to the both of you for sharing your heart and being so brave and sharing your story with those of us who will watch, and they will share your story. And again, there will be someone who may be facing a similar situation. And because of your testimony here today, they will decide life for their child. So thank you both very much for being with us. I certainly appreciate you. Any final words that you would like to say?
Just again, sitting right here next to me is I'm so thankful for the wisdom that God gave me to not listen to the medical community in that instance, you know. Um, and here's the result.
Well, many blessings to the both of you. We're scheduled for another coffee soon.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Make that happen. And Violet, you'll have to come and pick me up and take me for a ride in your car. Okay. God, God bless you both. And that will do it for this episode of Stories for Life. And as you can see, real people who have walked through major things, and God has given the grace and the strength to triumph over. Even in the midst of loss, God is still good. And we're grateful for Aaron and Violet for sharing their story with us. You can visit us online at voicesforlife.net. There are other stories of others who are in our area of Northeast Ohio who have felt God's love in triumph and in trying circumstances. So visit us on Voices for Life, and we will see you again next time. God bless you. Have a great day.
Thanks for tuning in to the Voices for Life podcast. Please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share with a friend. And you can visit us at voicesforlife.net. Have a blessed day.